All right. The next type of visual way to represent data is called a box and whisker plot. Kind of a lot of things going on here, a lot of definitions. I know your thing looks a little different, but you can kind of use this or your book to fill in the blanks if you're doing this at home. A box and whisker plot displays data beneath a number line that represents the range of the data. So kind of like our other graphs, the number line should fit your data, whatever that data might be. The display divides the ordered data into four parts using different points. The different points are called the median, which you should already know. The middle, that's just the middle the very middle point of the data. The upper quartile and the lower quartile. So what do those new words mean? The median separates the upper half of the data from the lower half. So you have the lower half of the data, the upper half of the data. The median of the lower half of the data is the lower quartile. So if you would split the lower half of the data in half again, that's the lower quartile. So it's kind of making multiple splits here. The very middle point, or the median of the upper half of the data, is called the upper quartile. So basically, you're just finding the median 3 different times, okay? And then finally, the whiskers are represented by the what's called the lower extreme, which is just the very smallest number, and the upper extreme, which is the biggest number. So let's interpret a box and whisker plot. So down below, this is what a box and whisker plot looks like. Here would let's label these here. Oops. So this would be, I'm going to kind of use abbreviations here just to fit it all on the screen. This would be the lower extreme, LE. This first part of the box is the lower quartile. It's an LQ, LQ. Lower quartile. This would be the median value. That's an M. The other part of the box would be the upper quartile. And finally, the upper extreme is the other whisker there. So here would be the median. Okay, and then this is the middle number of this half of the data. This is the middle number of this half of the data. The large box represents about half of all of the numbers. So whatever data set, half of the numbers are going to fit in that box. Each small box represents about 1/4 of the data. So like 25% of the data is going to fit in here, 25% is going to fit in here, 25 is going to be from here to here, and so on. So it's a way to organize the number into, see that word quartile, doesn't that kind of sound like a quarter? And so that's where they get those words from. So let's make a box and whisker plot for this set of data. So the first thing you need to do, I've already done it for you, if you're given a set of data, is put it in order. Because remember, we're finding the median 2 different times. So the same rules apply to finding the median. So let's find the median number. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. So my middle number, if you like the check mark thing to make sure you have the same amount on each side, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. We have 2 numbers, so we have to find the median of those 2 numbers then. The median of those 2 numbers. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Because we have an even amount of numbers. So first, before you can kind of do anything, let's find the median. So remember, if we have 2 numbers, we add them up and divide by 2. So if we're adding those up, 45 plus 50 is 95. If my pen would work, 95 divided by 2. And that would be 47 and a half. Okay, so now we need to find the lower quartile. The way we do that is, again, we cut the data in half. So if you have an even amount of numbers, that means you can, I'm going to erase these check marks just to clean it up a little bit. If you have an even amount of numbers, that means you can just cut the numbers right in half. So notice how I cut those right in half. So now we want to find the middle number of the bottom half. So the median of the bottom half, that one will be pretty simple. We just write it down, is 27. Middle number, or upper quartile, middle number here is 64. And then the last two things we need to look at are the lower extreme, which is just the smallest number, 14, and the upper extreme, which is 84. Those are the 5 pieces you need to properly form a box and whisker plot. So again, notice we just took the median 3 different times and then pointed out the smallest and largest number. So when you have an even amount, you're going to have to remember, kind of do that thing where you have to take the 2 numbers together. If you have an even amount of numbers, your initial median is going to be a little bit tricky to find because you have to do a little bit of work here. But then you just split right down the middle. Again, split the data values or the data in half to make sure you have an equal number on each side. So notice we have 5 on this side, 5 on that side, so we split it in half. Now we plot the points. So we first want to kind of look up here as your guide. Want to plot the lower extreme on this number line. So my first value is 14. There is no 14, but I'm going to kind of guess somewhere between 10 and 20. So there's my lower extreme. So that's my kind of point of my whisker. My next dot is going to be at the lower quartile. Lower quartile is 27. So that's almost to 30. Excuse me. So there's my whisker, and that's also the start of my box. Again, let's use this for a guide. Okay, my next value is the median, which we said was 47.5. So again, almost to 50. Again, we can kind of estimate. So we put a line every time there's a kind of either the low. We always put lines to split up the data for lower quartile, medium, upper quartile. So we're kind of creating our box as we go along here. All right, my next dot I need to put is my upper quartile, which is 64. So again, kind of roughly in the middle of 60 and 70. Put a line through it. That's going to be the end of my box. Okay, finally we have the upper extreme, which is 84, and that's going to be my other whisker. So that's a box and whisker plot. Always lines going through median, lower quartile, upper quartile, and then kind of horizontal whiskers going from the box out to your lowest and largest numbers. That's a box and whisker plot. Let's interpret a box and whisker plot. So we'll do more practice of actually constructing them later on. Let's actually interpret a box and whisker plot. So the prices of a concert are displayed below. So remember, if we were looking at this in terms of data set, of all the numbers here, everything is split into quarters. So from there to there, I'm going to go back up here, 1/4 of the data exists in there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1/4 fits in between here and here. Another fourth, a quarter, fits in between this line and this line. And finally, all of 1/4 of the numbers fit there. So let's kind of take that and keep that in mind when we're looking down here. Prices of concert. So we know the lowest ticket is 28, the highest ticket is 50, just kind of looking at it off the bat. Now, if tickets under $35 are sold out, what fraction are sold out? So let's look. So we have the lower extreme, we have LQ, lower quartile, median, upper quartile, and upper extreme. So remember the median, which is in this case what, 35, represents right down the middle. Remember the median, the half of the numbers are going to be less, half are going to be more. So if $35 tickets are sold out, what fraction are sold out? Well, that means that's right in the middle. That means half of the data then has to be sold out. So we would say 1/2 are sold out. If tickets costing $47.50, so that would be right there, to 50 are front row seats, what fraction are front row seats? Well, remember, in between every dot represents 1/4. And 1/4. So what does that mean? 1/4 then are front row seats. So that's kind of a good way, a quick way to interpret the data. We'll do more practice of actually constructing these in class, but that gives you a general idea of what needs to go into finding those 5 points.